didn't love myself, and you give power and influence to the wrong people. Look how it turns out. You have to hype yourself up and nobody else on the external is hyping you up. You have All right, and welcome back to Ascension with V. I'm your host, Stashia Jeanette, aka V, and today I'm going to talk about a topic that I feel like needs to have a little bit more clarity, a little bit more spotlight shown on it, and it's essentially just your spiritual gifts, how to use them, what are they, and kind of trying to just bring awareness to your spiritual gifts and abilities. A lot of people are very, very spiritually gifted, and they don't know that they have these gifts and abilities. They don't know that the things that they are kind of effortlessly doing every single day is our gifts, our spiritual gifts and abilities. And in fact, a lot of people are feeling them as kind of a hindrance to their everyday life, to the way that they live, the way that they act, the way that they feel. It can make them feel very alienated, even if they don't know what the gifts are, right? For example, for me, for a long time, I didn't understand why it was that I didn't like being around in large crowds, why there were certain places that I would go to or be forced to go to because a child, right? You have to go wherever your parents drop you off at. But there would be certain buildings where I would just get outside and be like, I don't want to go inside. I don't want to, something's wrong with that building. I don't want to go in there. Or, daycares or schools. Like I remember my primary school had the worst energy ever. And like, even when I would drive by it, on the bus or just in everyday life, my parents were taking us somewhere and we had to go past the primary school. I would feel the negative, unnerving, unsettling, like scary energy from it. And then being in the school, it was like a nightmare for me, having to be in there for 8+ hours around negative energy. It was rough, but again, as a child, you don't really you don't know what it is, and there's a lot of children right now who are very spiritually gifted, and I hope that the parents that are giving birth and raising these very special spiritually gifted children are able to see and understand these gifts for what they are, but they can only do that if they know what these things are, right? So I'm going to go into a little bit about what the gifts and abilities are. I did make notes. So if you see me kind of like stopping and pausing, I just want to make sure that I'm very clear that I go over all the things in detail, and I'll give, like I usually do, regular real life examples for it to make it even more so relatable. But some of the most potent gifts and abilities, like textbook gifts and abilities that a lot of us have, are the clairs. And so we call it the clairs, Clairs, clairs. And these are your psychic senses, your textbook psychic senses. However, there have been 3 or 4 new added abilities to the clairs. First one is what you hear often, it's clairvoyance. That's your clear seeing, right? So being able to see things like visions, flashes, insights, things for me, they kind of show up like bubbled images, like imagine a thought bubble with a picture in it. Or if someone is talking to me, then I can telepathically see what it is that they're describing, right? So if they're describing a building or they were talking about where they went grocery shopping at, I can see them in the market. I can see them, if they're talking about they were at the mountains, I can see them in the mountains, doing whatever it is. But it's like this, or you can get kind of like flashes of symbolic imagery. For me, recently there was not I guess not so recent. A couple of months ago, I was getting the Metatron's cube very frequently, and a lot of sacred geometry, but Metatron's cube was what was coming to me the most frequent. And so that was my signal to me of like, hey, I don't know what this is, but I need to look into it. But these are things that you can get from clairvoyance. It's clear seeing, it's seeing with your third eye. It's your mind's eye, the ability to be able to receive messages through visions. Then we have clairaudience. This is one that I feel like it frequently blends over with people talking about different mental illnesses, because this is your clear hearing. This is hearing voices, tones, and whispers. But I want to clarify here. Not everything means that you have a mental illness, and not every mental illness is that you have a spiritual gift. There is some overlap, and this is not my field of expertise. I'm not a medical professional, and I don't claim to be here. All I can go off of is my own personal experiences. But when having my own clairaudience experiences, when I do my channeled readings, my energy readings, when I'm channeling, my God source universe and my spiritual crew, my spiritual guides will come through, and it's like a whisper, but it's like from inside my mind. And it's not if I want to further clarify, if you're hearing voices, like I frequently can hear my team, I can frequently hear God source universe, but like it's not loud, it's not scary, it's not negative, it's not something that they're not like whispering terrible things into my ear, or you know what I'm saying? It's not something that's like whispering for me to do bad things. If that's something that you're experiencing, I've experienced that before too, and that was me. That was like my own inner devil taunting me, but it's that's different. That's a whole nother ball game. And and again, that's not my specialty. Not my specialty. All I can do is talk to you from my own personal experiences of dealing with the clairs. And clairaudience is the one that gets dinged the most. Like, you can't just go telling people, oh, like I hear voices. That's textbook for psychiatrists. They're like, we got one, and I hate that, because I do feel like there are a lot of very just spiritually gifted beings who have been around the wrong people, or who have been too open too early. Let me clarify that. Too open too early, kind of like I was as a child, about their gifts and abilities, right? And the wrong people got their hands on them, and again, and then now they're institutionalized, or now they're on a whole bunch of medications when they were never broken to begin with, right? Like, as it's a slippery slope. And again, like I said, my heart goes out to everybody that's caught up in the crosshairs of this. But clairaudience, it should never be a voice of negativity. The only thing that you should be hearing is, like I said, gentle whispers, maybe in your voice, of guidance, right? Of advice, of positive stuff. Like, again, you're in danger zone if you're just hearing like harsh, forceful, negative, loud. Like, that's the key thing: loud voices. Because anything that is of good and of divine and of pure intention is not like that. I could even say that with I can even say that with people. Most of the time, the loudest voice in the room isn't the one that you should be listening to. And I'm gonna leave it there. Also, with clairaudience, you can hear kind of like tones, pitches, much like dogs can hear sounds and pitches a lot more than what humans can hear. So, like, sometimes that can be a thing. But the next one is clairsentience, and that is your clear feeling. So having your intuition, intuitive body, emotional responses, right? So for me, what that presents as is, in my readings, if you ever see any of my readings on YouTube, I have a repetitive saying of, I feel like this energy is, or I feel like this is, it feels like this, is because I feel I'm an energy reader. Energy is my first language. Um, but I'm translating the energy and the feeling of that energy into words for people. Because for me, with my clairsentience, I'm able to feel what others are feeling, or the energy of a situation prior to it happening. So that's also something that people are able to do. Sometimes they can feel when something is about to happen, and they'll, be agitated, or they'll be anxious, or they'll be angry, whatever the case may be, prior to, and not know why, prior to something happening in the physical, because they're feeling it on a parallel timeline or on a future timeline. Time is not real. All we have is the present, but I digress. So they're able to feel the energy and emotions of what's to come, and that in itself can be really, really draining, really tricky, really difficult to deal with when you're not able to separate what you're feeling, your own emotions, your own energy from what's coming in, especially if you're very tapped into the collective energy. And again, as I said, you feeling the energy of something that has not yet happened. So if you're very tapped into the collective energy and you're feeling, the craziness that's going on collectively, it's, you're taking that on unbeknownst, unbeknownst to yourself, and it's physically and energetically draining. So it's really important to practice really good spiritual hygiene and protection, but that's we'll cover it at the end of this podcast, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But it can be a really beautiful thing. It can be a really powerful gift having clairsentience, because for me, again, I can only speak from my personal experience. For me, when it comes to opportunities or people, if something doesn't feel right with me, I immediately can feel it. It'll send my system into full anxiety, or it'll feel like deep resistance, or like my body will kind of like fidget, or I get restless, like if something isn't right. And that's that I've always been that way. But again, up until maybe the last 5 or 7 years, like I really didn't understand it. I really didn't know like what this was. And again, I thought something was wrong with me, and nothing's wrong with you. It's your body doing what it's meant to do as a spiritually gifted being. And it's only until you realize it that you're able to. God, source, universe frequently tells me there's nothing wrong with the car, you just don't know how to drive it. And so for the last, like I said, 5 to 7 years, it's just been a learning course for me to learn how to drive the car, to drive my craft. So next is the clear cognizance. This is clear knowing. This is like literally you knowing something without having the logic of why you know this. You know, but you don't know why. I have a card in my deck that I made that says, no, you don't have to know how you know or why you know, but you just know. Trust yourself and your intuition, because when you have been gaslit your entire life to think that you knowing something without having clear, tangible, black and white proof of why you know something, then you're just making shit up. Like, oh, that's not possible. Oh, you're just doing this, that, and third. Oh, well, you're just overreacting. Oh, well, you don't know that. You don't have any proof. You don't have any proof. The amount of times that I've heard you don't have any proof, so that's not it, especially when dealing with my health stuff. The most frustrating shit ever. Like, you don't have to, this world will make you think that literally everything has to be physically proven in black and white, on paper, tangibly felt, seen, and able to obtain in order for it to be accepted. But I challenge that by saying literally 90% of life in this world we cannot see. The human eyes cannot perceive a whole world of what's going on around us every single day. There's literally so much happening around us that the physical eyes are not able to perceive, but yet we want to base everything off of having physical eye proof, physical, tangible proof of what is or is not. And I think that's insane. That's crazy work. Literally, you cannot see air, but yet you know it exists. You know that you need it. You cannot see energy, yet scientists are very able to prove that energy is real, that matter is real. We believe that. But when it comes to having a clear knowing, having a knowing about something and being right, mind you, right? Being right. Like, how many times have you said, like, that person's no good, or this is going to happen, or how many times have your kids told you an answer to something without you having the answer? In school, that's something your teachers want you to show your work all the time, but like if you raise your hand and you give an answer to something, The answer is correct, but they're like, how do you know that? Show your work. That's where this whole thing starts at. The whole line of self-doubt in your gifts and abilities starts at a really young age. But who cares? Is the answer right or not? Did I get it right? Or you didn't see me talk to nobody. I just gave you the answer. Is the answer right or no? If the answer is yes, yes, that's the correct answer. Take it and go. Why are we having this debate? Please. If you have a child or anybody in your life that just knows something and it's true, like it's factual, just take it at that. They don't know either. We don't know. We don't know where we got the answer from, but is it the right answer or not? Yeah. So here comes the newer ones that have been added, but these are things that I've experienced and I didn't know it had a name until about a month ago. Clairalience is clear smelling. So smelling without a physical source. Frequently, I've been sitting, I don't drink coffee, but frequently I've been sitting in my home and like I could smell coffee and I'm like, "Oh, coffee. Who's drinking coffee? Why do I smell coffee? What is this? Why am I smelling? Why am I tasting coffee or chocolate?" But like some good chocolate, I'll be tasting and smelling chocolate. And again, these were things that I had experienced multiple times, but I had no idea were an actual thing. So if you're able to smell something, that's clairalience. And also there's something that I've been doing a really long time. It's smelling the energy of a negative entity. And it's true. It's funk. It's it's funk. I call it like a miasma smell. You have to Google it, miasma, but it's like a thick, dark cloud of energy. And it stinks. Like it stinks. It smells like a mix of like moldy with sulfur with mothballs. I don't know. I'm trying my best to describe what I'm saying. It's an undeniable smell, and I smell it more often than you think around people. And immediately, those are the like I'm a pretty nice person, contrary to what people think because resting bitch face. But like when people come up to me, usually I'm like, "Oh, hey, hi, how are you doing?" I'm very cordial. I try to interact. But there have been people who have come up to me, not even come up to me, because the wind blew a whiff of their, it's not body odor. So they're like, how do people know it's not body? This is not body odor. Like, this is the same smell habitually that I have run into over the course of the last 7 years of my life from people. It's the same smell. Not everybody got the same body odors. Not everybody got the same body odor smell. And I just wanna clarify here. Yeah, but this I had gotten a whiff of it from air and turned around and been like and instantly was just repelled by the person. They tried to come up, and like say hi and interact and they wanted to, shake my hand and I was like, I'm good. I'm good actually. Like that's all right. And then they stopped in their track because they knew I saw them. They knew I saw them for who and what they were. I understand what I'm telling you here. Who and what they were. Right. And that's something once you learn how to utilize that gift and ability, it can be your biggest protection and guidance source ever. Smelling people. If somebody stinks and it's not like body odor smell, stay the F away from them. Period. Clairgustance is clear tasting, kind of what I was mentioning earlier, being able to taste something that you're not eating, right? It's tasting spiritual energy or presence. So again, just trying to go back to the example that I already gave. You can also get some bad taste. You ever hear somebody like they just give me a bad taste in my mouth? Speaking with them left a bad taste in my mouth. Like it's a real thing. It's a real thing. If you are interacting with somebody, if you're texting somebody, that's a form of energetic exchange. Anytime that you have an energetic exchange with somebody and they leave a bad taste in your mouth, like they cut them the F off immediately because they're something's wrong with them. Something's up. Something's up with them or that place, whatever it is, it's not for you. Clairtangency. Clairtangency is clear touching, right? So it's like receiving energetic impressions from an object. Like if I pick up my deck of cards. If you ever see me doing my readings, I touch my cards frequently because I'm trying to get the energy from whatever timeline that card is attached to. So how I do it, I'm reading timelines. I'm reading different timelines and the energy from those different timelines. The different timelines and the energy of those timelines are attached to the cards that God Source Universe throws from my deck, right? So I don't draw them whenever I'm shuffling, my cards just come out. And so each card is attached to one of those timelines and energetic threads. So when I'm touching them, I'm able to receive that energetic thread from it and channel the messages. In addition, just like I don't let everybody touch me because I can do the same thing with people. I don't do it purposely, it just happens, and I'm cognizant of that. And that's something that other people, I say it so frequently: don't let everybody touch you. Don't put hands on everybody. That goes both ways. Don't let everybody touch you, and you shouldn't touch everybody. Period. And same with things, same with objects. If you get a bad feeling from something, don't touch it. Don't touch it. If something just feels off energetically, don't physically touch it. Or do if you're trying to, figure out what happened to somebody, if you're trying to, whatever. Again, I can only speak from my own lane of what it is that I do. Yeah, I can't really deviate from that. But yeah, it's just when you're able to feel the energy of receive impressions, energetic impressions from the objects that you touch or from people that you touch. So yeah, those are just essentially the overview and the run of the clairs and the new ones that were added and kind of some relatable experiences in those things. But there are also gifts that go beyond the clair spectrum, and they often also show up in people, and that's mediumship. Mediumship is like being able to communicate with ancestor spirits or the dead. Again, it's not my that's not my realm. That's not what I do. I can't really give too many experiences from that, but there are tons of mediums in the world that are able to have this gift and ability, and that's their forte. That's their thing. I guess I could say, but mine was like I was able to see. I've always just been able, like as a kid, I was able to see my passed on loved ones and ancestors, like sitting in my rocking chair in my room, or some soldiers standing guard outside of my bedroom as a child, like. But we didn't talk, we didn't talk, like they weren't really talking to me. I had one time my grandmother talked to me in my crib and told me that I was gonna have a rough life and she was sorry. Yeah. And I remember that to a T. And so, but that's really it, like that's all I got as far as an example from that. But you guys can Google mediumship and mediums and understand that more so. But then this next one, telepathy, that's my realm right there, is mind to mind communication. That is literally being able to, you think something and whoever it is that you're thinking about. Oh wait, let me give a better example. So my mother and I frequently, if I'm laying in bed and I'm looking at my phone, or they ping me something like, "Oh, you need to pick this up at the store," I'll be like, "Oh, I need to tell my mom that we need to get this at the store," and my mom will then get it. We didn't have a physical communication about it because it's usually like somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., some crazy time in the morning. But my mom will then have ordered the item that I'm talking about, like a grocery pickup or something of this nature. And then the next day, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the groceries and I'm like, holy shit, you got this thing. And she's like, yeah, I thought about it the other night. But it's like this. Also, my friend Martina and I, we do it frequently. The speaking what we're seeing mentally, mind to mind communication. Also, soulmates, like really deep soulmates, are able to do this with each other if they live together, or even if they don't live together. Like I dated a guy one time where he was long distance, and he would say things to me, right, and I would receive it, and I would do whatever it is, and when we would speak in physical, like we'd both be mind blown at the fact of, he'd be like, "Oh, I was gonna ask you to see if you had this thing or if you got this thing," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I got it," and it's a mind blowing situation, especially when you don't know, when you're not consciously doing it, but yet you're still aware that it happened. It's pretty cool. hopefully within the next 2 years, more people will be able to experience telepathic communication on a more widespread level to where it's not so rare and mind blowing. I think it'll still be rare then. I'm not gonna cap. I'm not gonna cap. I think it's still gonna be pretty rare then just because there's so many people who don't know, which is why I'm making this podcast now, but there's just so many people who are so closed off to spiritual gifts and spirituality, even though because, organized religion, book, whatever book it is that of your organized religion has made you think that anything related to spirituality or spiritual gifts is like of the devil, is of negative source. It's not like even in like a Bible they talk it so it's all right to talk to angels in the Bible. I don't understand. These are like spiritual gifts are presented in the Bible, but when it's outside of the Bible, it's like looked down upon. It's strange to me where so many people are hemmed up and locked up spiritually because for whatever reason it's been somehow warped to be seen as like negative for you to use your own God-given abilities. You're just born this way. Like you just came out with these gifts inherently built into you. Why would God Source Universe put these gifts and abilities within you for you to not use them? I don't understand. I don't understand the entire mechanism of the makeup of this, of why it's been taught in such like a negative light. I do understand it, that they had a plan and it was a good one, of really disconnecting people from God within. And I really do hope that as I continue to put more content out and other people continue to put more content out about this, like that some of that harsh, rigid thinking can be broken up and people can become more open to their own gifts and abilities within them. Moving on, channeling. Channeling is something that I do frequently. Again, if you've seen it in my videos and even on the podcast, I channel, allowing divine light beings to speak through you. God Source Universe speaks through me. Again, I can only be a testament to it just from watching the videos. Everything that I do is channeling, is God Source Universe working through me. I am just a vessel for God Source Universe to work. And I'm only here, I'm only still alive, I'm only still doing what I do because God Source Universe allows me to and uses me to be a testament to its glory, to its magnificence, to its power. But yeah, it's just where you're in the flow, you're receiving information, you're receiving, a lot of times when I do my videos, I say stuff and I have no idea what I was saying. Like I don't, I'll go back and watch the videos and be like, whoa. And it's because I was channeling information. It wasn't me speaking. Obviously, it was my body and my mouth speaking, but that was God Source Universe speaking through me, or that was my spirit squad speaking through me. Yeah, and that's how it works. Psychometry is reading energy off of objects, kind of similar to clairtangency, but slightly different. Slightly different. There's an overlap, and I guess, what would be the example for me? I feel like psychometry is more of what I do with my cards. I'm gonna keep it a buck 100. I'm not really sure how clairtangency and psychometry differ, but they're both reading the energy off of objects. But I think with the clairtangency, again, that's like if I touch somebody, like I'm getting bits of their life. When I'm doing my cards, it's just strictly the energy. Thank you. I feel like the cards is the psychometry. The cards is the psychometry because it's me pulling the energetic thread connected to a different timeline and just strictly reading the energy off of those cards. But when people touch me or if I touch another person and I get like a glimpse of them, their energy and what's going on in their life at that time, that's the clairtangency for me. I can only I can only speak from my own personal experiences. Anyways, empathy. Feeling others' emotions in your own body. Listen, this hose so many people because You care too much. You have the ability, it goes beyond caring. It's like, for me, it's bad because I'll be like trying to not step on ants because I feel bad. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's like this level of I don't want to hurt another because I can feel it. And no matter how no matter how small or big, like I really do consciously try my best to not do any harm. Do no harm, but take no shit. But this can be a really detrimental thing, again, if you don't know how to kind of put a wall between it, because there's this thing like the empath narcissist dynamic, where you will give and give and give as the empath, and the narcissist will take and take and take because you don't have a boundary of how much you're willing to give before it's too much. And takers have no boundary, takers have no limit. And again, speaking to you from personal experience, but because we feel so much for others, and because we can feel the pain and suffering of others, like we just want to stop the bleeding, we just want to stop the wound, we just want to stop the pain, right, of other people, but you can't save everybody, and you will lose yourself trying to save somebody who doesn't want to be saved. And that is the biggest lesson that I can give anybody. Do not sacrifice yourself for somebody who would not do the same for you. Number one, period. Like, don't sacrifice yourself, period, for anybody, but especially not somebody who does not want to put in the work to save themselves, because they will take you down with them. You will die trying. I literally, I have an episode on my podcast that was like, I think it was like narcissistic relationships. I have to go back and find the title of it, but when I do, it was about narcissistic relationships and an experience that I had. And I love that man to death, but literally to death, because I almost died multiple times in that relationship. I tried to take my life multiple times because I was suffering, and but I loved him and I didn't want to be without him. And it was like that lover's leap kind of kind of shit. It was like it was bad. It was really bad, and he had a really effed up way of trying to show that he quote unquote loved me, but that's not love. Let me put that PSA out there, where you like love is a double-edged sword. Love is a rose with its thorns, right? In general. But like it should not be a toxic rose that you touch and you immediately start having the skin fall off of you. Like like you might get pricked, holding it a few times, or you know what I'm saying, or whatever the case may be. You may get pricked, you may have like blood drawn a few times from holding the rose. But like that's such is life, roses are beautiful. Roses are beautiful, but they have thorns, and that's a part of it. But you should not spontaneously combust when you touch the rose. If you touch that rose, and your skin starts peeling off, and you start breaking out in hives, and you're burning, your face is burning, you burst into a ball of flames, like that's not it. So the biggest PSA that I can say about having empathy or being an empath is learning to protect yourself first, and learning to, as I said with Claire Sentience, is learning to separate your energy from others, right? And putting a hard boundary between you and other people. So in order for you to do that, you have to know yourself, know thyself. You have to know how you are day to day, what your energy is like baseline. What is your baseline energy like? When nobody is around, when you're just calm, when you're to yourself, best time to do that is like if you sleep by yourself, even if you don't sleep by yourself, go somewhere else, go get a hotel for a night, and just be in your own energy and lay there. And when you are in the present moment and all is well and hunky dory, like what are you like in that? What is your energy like in that time frame? How are you when you are alone? That's your energy. Like when you're sober, you're not high, you're not drunk, you're not whatever the case may be. Soberly, what is your baseline energy like? That's you. That's your energy. That's your ground zero. That's where you need to operate from. when you're out in the world and dealing with people, if you're around someone or something and you start feeling crazy, like you start feeling some different kind of way, some weird type of way that you're not usually like, that's not your energy, and you've got to return that to sender with love, light, and healing, or I return any and all energy back to senders, blessed and transmuted. I say that frequently every day. I call all my power, magic, and energy back to me, blessed and transmuted. And I return any and all energy that doesn't belong to me back to senders, blessed and transmuted. Always blessed and transmuted, because we're not out here trying to disrupt the collective energy any more than it is, right? You always want to put good back out. Even if somebody's not throwing you good, like that's fine, but you don't return the same kind of energy. I hate when people say like, well, I match energy. Good for you. You're successfully hoeing yourself. You're successfully keeping yourself down. Don't drop down to somebody else's energetic level, energetic frequency, just because they came at you sideways, just because they came at you with some negative type shit. And it's hard, it practice makes perfect, right? But return energies blessed and transmuted every time. Moving on, prophetic dreams. Something that I also do, spiritual downloads during your sleep, is a lot of people have these dreams. I call it dream sight. Also, like having dream sight and being able to receive messages, visions. A lot of times I can foresight. I have foresight. My dreams provide glimpses of what's to come. Prophetic dreams. And it's the key to this is being able to write down what you saw. And it's hard. You have to train your mind. There's something that I say is I will remember my dreams, and I try to do my eyes like this, circular, clockwise, while saying, I will remember my dreams. I will remember my dreams. I will remember my dreams. Right. So because it stimulates the memory, and it will help you when you wake up, the first thing that you have to do is like grab your phone and type in the notes of what it is that you saw, or you can keep a dream journal and write down what it was that you saw, whatever the case may be. The key to understanding, using, and harnessing this ability for your highest good is being able to remember what it was that you saw. And it's really hard to do if you don't have a clean mind. Also, if you're not aware of that this is a gift. If you're able to vividly remember your dreams, like it's not for naught. It's not for no reason. You're receiving information through your dreams, especially if you remember it like clearly. There's probably a reason somewhere in there coded that you need to cipher through, but you can only do that again if you've written it down and you're able to reflect back on it at a later time. Oh yeah, sober mind. Sober mind. Having a sober mind, number one, is if you're not sober, you're not going to be able to effectively use your abilities, right? They'll be altered, skewed by the substances, and people can argue it down all you want, but like until you're sober, you don't understand what I mean. You won't be. And again, I can speak on this because I wasn't, right. I've been on both sides of the coin. I really have. I've lived it. So like before you come at me with any kind of like negative comments, you don't know what you're talking about, you biased. I'm not actually. um I'm not. I was there. Like I was down in alcohol frequently. I was constantly on weed. And it just I did the things. So, but my not only that, but I was still on a lot of the medications. That was already clouding me to boot. So I do know, and I was receiving stuff, but like it was not how it is now, which is why I'm saying I can very clearly give you the comparison of what it is, because everything that I get now is crystal clear and it has the divine purpose to it. Or like before, it was shrouded in it was like some wild shit. I was doing things and I was seeing stuff, but like it was sporadic, wild, and heavily influenced by whatever substance I had. Not always in a positive manner. It was a lot of fear-based stuff that I was receiving, and it was because of the substances, because of the alcohol, whatever the case may be, right? So that, but then also needing to be able to, when you have prophetic dreams, it's you needing to be able to keep your energy high, right? So if you're tired, thank you. If you're tired, you will not be able to use your dream site. You will not be able to use your prophetic dream because it takes so much energy to do this. Speaking from experience, when I'm super tired or stressed out, like my emotions will affect my abilities, and that's all the abilities. But I've noticed that my dreams, my dream ability is most impacted, where I'm not able to remember stuff or recall things, or I just won't because I'm too to receive the information. And God, source, universe will be like, she just needs to rest. She just needs to sleep. So then I get the night off, so to speak. But just know that your emotions, your emotional state, and your mental state has a heavy impact on your abilities, or whatever your abilities are. If you're not in the best emotional state or mental state, it can affect your ability to use your abilities. So just wanted to put that out there. Then you have energy healing, moving or clearing energy with your hands or frequency. A lot of us are very powerful energy masters, being able to use it. I don't want to say manipulate because that's a bad influence energy with our own presence. A lot of people like they do Reiki. I can't really speak on that because I don't I don't consciously do that. Uh, but Reiki, I guess, would be an example of this. But for me, being able to, like, when I walk into a room, I can influence, like, alchemize energy. So if this is why people will be both negative or positively triggered by you if you have a powerful energy around you. If you're a force to be reckoned with, both spiritually, physically, energetically, or mentally. When you walk into a room, people will know that you're there, and they'll either be like drawn to you or really triggered by the fact that you're there and you're moving shit energetically. So, yeah, that's pretty much that. Animal communication, intuitive connection to non-human souls. Also, this goes beyond animals, I would say, like just in my own case, it's like being able to communicate with non-human souls or interact, have a deep connection with non-human souls, plants, animals, sea creatures, whatever the case may be, things that don't verbally talk. That's a gift that a lot of people have, and people be like, "Oh, they're really connected to the plants," or like, "Oh, they're really connected, they're really drawn to animals," or "Animals are really drawn to you." No matter how big or small, whatever it is, it's a gift. That is a gift. And then the last thing that I had noted was astral travel slash remote viewing, leaving the body or seeing across time space. Again, that's kind of something that I do with the timeline seeing. It's seeing and clips of things across time space. But not only that, like being able to essentially see in first person through somebody else's eyes. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, for me, it's kind of like Russian roulette. I don't really know. I don't, consciously, I would say that it's 11:11. Make a wish. Okay, yeah. So I don't consciously know really all the time, who or what I'm remote viewing. But I do frequently leave my body, and that's something that I've been doing ever since I was a kid. And a lot of children have this. That's usually their first ability is astral travel. If you've ever seen Insidious, guess he was a kid, right? That was my point in saying everything else. But it is true. Sometimes you can go off into the abyss, and then you come back with something. So like it is something that needs to be, even as an adult, that needs to be used with caution. Like that's not just because of it. So I put this in here as a cautionary tale because nobody ever says it. They just think, oh, I've got this gift and I can do whatever the F I want to do. And that's not it. Just because someone has a gift doesn't mean that they're using it from a clean place, or doesn't mean that they're using it with integrity or with the moral boundaries in line, right? Discernment is high key, especially if you're receiving from others. People willingly go out here and just open themselves up to be read, to be felt, to be energetically targeted by just anybody. And I understand hurting and I understand being vulnerable and sad and, feeling like you're at a place of last resort in life. But like, not everybody needs to have access to your soul. Not everybody needs to have access to your Akashic records. Like, I'm so tired of this being a thing that people are like, open yourself up to me, and allow, because there's a lot of people who are getting paid very well to take parts of your soul with them. They really are. They're getting very, very wealthy off of hurting people, off of vulnerable people, off of people with no energetic or spiritual awareness or boundaries for themselves. Right. And this is rough. This is an epidemic that we have going on here because, again, people don't know. People have no idea, the dangers that lurk in every corner. And it's not just with the spirituality community, right? Like, this is in religious organizations as well. They're hiding in every crack and crevice across the board. So it's important for you as an individual to be cognizant of yourself, your soul, your energy, and your mind, and protect yourself. It's your responsibility. It is your responsibility to protect yourself and your loved ones from malicious or nefarious energies, entities, or beings, regardless what title or shape they may take in the physical. It doesn't matter what their title is. So many of you guys get swept away and hemmed up by these nefarious and malicious entities just because they're hiding behind the Bible. And that's not it. That's not the thing. That's not the move. You know? Okay, anyways, they didn't like what I was saying. But this is facts. A lot of people get hemmed up and really messed up because they're going off of what somebody's title is, right? And that's not the thing. That's not the move. So please keep your head on the swivel when it comes to receiving any kind of guidance or help from somebody's, just because they have a certain title or they hold a certain position, or they seem to be okie doke on the surface, because that's not what you should be going off of. You have to go off of what feels right and good and true, be it. And to wrap this up, because I need to deal with some gross energy, to protect yourself from these kinds of energies, kind of like right now, energy clearing by using tuning forks. And Palo Santo or sound baths is a really great way. Plus, also getting you an obsidian bracelet to keep on you. Cleansing them in a selenite bowl every night is crucial. Always cleanse your crystals in a selenite bowl. I don't recommend using sage because a lot of people don't know how to use sage correctly. They don't know to, when you open the windows and you're clearing the energy out using sage, you have to put the good energy back in because it takes all the energy out. How Palo Santo cleanses it takes only the negative energies out, which is what you want to do, especially if you're in a situation where your energy isn't the best right now. Palo Santo is the best for you. Grounding is always a good one. Walking barefoot, doing some root chakra work, conscious eating, just spending time outside in nature, listening to the birds, being present. A really, really great way for you to not only stay present, to meditate, but to deeply set in back into the present moment. And you can do some things like visualizing yourself deeply rooting into Mother Earth, like roots coming out from the bottom of your feet, or from your root chakra deeply into Mother Earth and connecting into the heartbeat of Mother Earth. That's a really good, powerful one that I do frequently. And then also calling on Archangel Michael. I do it frequently. I say, Archangel Michael, please come in and protect me with your blue light or white light of protection. Keep me safe from any and all curses, hexes, jinxes, spells, ill will, illusion, delusion, confusion, blockages, spiritual attacks, negative, evil energies, entities, beings, sickness, diseases, viruses, infections, or energy vampires. And please return these things immediately back to senders with love, light, and healing across all past lives, timelines, dimensions, realms, corners of the world, people, places, and things, sending them. So mote it be. Amen, amen, amen. And then journaling to discharge energetic debris, get out your frustrations, and deal with anything that may be clouding up your mental space. I live by journaling. I've got a whole thing of journals in my room from years past, and it really has been a really powerful form of therapy for me. And lastly, boundaries are a form of spiritual protection. Do not read people without permission. A lot of people are out here just dabbling in all of people's energies, just trampling over any and all boundaries. But again, a lot of y'all don't have any boundaries. So for them, from where they're standing, I understand it. It's like free reign. But regardless, you should, as a spiritual gift and ability user, you should have morals within you that is set by God's source universe and the Galactic Federation. Really, honestly, there is a code of ethics where you do not read people without permission. You do not assert your energy and your influence to manipulate others' energy for your own personal gain. And you should not open yourself up to everyone who asks. Really, you shouldn't. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And that's across the board with everything, right? That's across the board with everything. Please make sure that you are being cognizant of your own energy, what feels right, what feels normal for you, and apply that for whenever you're out and about in the world, and protect yourself heavily. I also do a thing of I people always talk about like, oh, you need to shield. No, don't do that. You need to allow your love energy, your heart chakra, to be what like shoots out like a damn Care Bear of like bright love energy. Your love energy should be what encompasses you, right? Because it's like shining a bright ring light into the face of any kind of malicious or nefarious entities. So remember, I always come back to the example of being in the Mariana Trench, the abyss, right? There is no light that reaches down that deep. And so all the creatures of the deep, they're swim around in darkness. They're not used to light. They've never seen light. So when you come around and you're just out here like shining and glistening, heart open, and it's like it's blinding. They're like, oh my God, they can't handle it. That is what protects you from anything that's not for you or that has malicious intentions towards you. But it is also what will magnetize in towards you what is for you, what is in alignment for you, right? So that is your superpower, and that is what you need to use in order to navigate your daily life. Don't do this thing where you shriek in and you're like paranoid and you try to hide yourself from everything. No, you allow your heart to open even more so, and you allow that love energy to be what protects you and magnetizes in what is meant for you to you. And with that being said, you guys, I hope this episode was helpful. I'm glad that it pissed some people off, but we still prevailed. We still got the messages out, and we still doing the things. Until the next time, don't forget you can check out Ascension Oracle V for more information and to work with me and apply to work with me one-on-one. I also have some packages that are available, and you can book a reading with me as well. I'll see you. Peace, squad.